How to make a flipbook. A flipbook is a way to make analog animation. They can be as simple or as complex as you'd like. I'm going to show two methods today, one using what you should already have on hand, and the next a bit more complex with a DIY light box and cards. The materials I'm using today include a sticky notepad, blank index cards, and it's important to note that the paper used to create a flipbook should be uniform in size, bulldog clips, large enough to hold the index cards, a good dark marker so that you can clearly see it through the paper, and then I'll also be using an iPad on screen lock with a white photo as a DIY light box, and fitting this with a piece of glass to prevent the touchscreen activation. To start, we're going to make a simple sticky note flipbook. You could also do this using the corner pages of a notebook or sketchbook. We're going to start at the back of the pad on the very last page and work backwards. I'm going to start with a simple face and adjust the movement of the pupils in each subsequent drawing or frame. So to do this, I'll lay the next page over top and trace everything from the previous drawing as best I can, and then make a slight adjustment to the pupils of the eyes. Each time I move to the next paper or frame, I'm changing the placement of the pupils slightly in the same direction until they go all the way around and back again. I will continue this way until I get to the end of the sequence I want to draw, keeping all pages intact and working one by one. This requires patience. For this method especially, you will want to use a dark black pen to make sure you can see through the paper to trace your drawing. I recommend starting with something like this, using what you have on hand, and choosing a simple movement in which only one part of the drawing is moving at a time. A very important note when making any flipbook is to make sure your drawing occupies only about half of the paper on the side closest to the flipping edge, as anything drawn beyond that won't easily be visible. Though we will use this to our advantage in the next flipbook I demonstrate. If you're having trouble seeing or tracing the previous image, you can try holding this up against a window or even drawing on a glass table with a light below you. Now we can move on to the more complex flipbook using a DIY light box. For this, I'm using my iPad with a white screen to provide the light I need to trace an image through thicker paper. And you can see I'm putting a piece of glass, just from a picture frame, on top of the iPad to make sure that when I touch the surface, the iPad touchscreen is not activated. So I'm using index cards for this flipbook, and a reminder that I'm going to focus my drawing on the half of the paper that is on the flipping edge. Anything else will not be visible. I'm going to start this book with a seed dropping into the frame from the top of the page. In this method with individual index cards, we can start the flipbook from the beginning and work towards the end. I start by drawing the seed just coming onto the page, put another card on top and draw the seed a bit further down the page. And then I'll remove the first card and flip it over out of the way and place a blank card on top of the newest drawing and draw the same seed again, a little bit further down the page, and continue on this way. This is when it's good to remember that the greater the change between each drawing, the quicker the movement will appear, and the smaller the change will result in a slower and smoother movement when flipping. For this sequence, I'm making the seed move relatively quickly down the page to indicate the momentum that falling has, and I'm also rotating the seed slowly with each drawing to make the thickest and what would be heaviest part of the seed come to the bottom as it naturally would. And now when it lands, I'm going to exaggerate the impact and make the seed appear oblong and compressed before bouncing back to its original shape. Exaggeration of movement is very effective in animation and flipbooks, so I recommend trying it when you can. This clip of me drawing the intro is another good example of exaggeration of movement when the O from the word how drops and bounces out of the frame. You can see that the O squishes out flat upon impact and then ascends before slowing down prior to descending again. You can see it in action here. I like to do a test every 10 or so pages and do a flip through to assess the movement, make any necessary adjustments, such as adding a page to slow down or smooth out the movement, or make any other adjustments necessary. I'm going to continue this drawing as I want to introduce multiple moving objects in each frame. I'll draw a cloud and have raindrops falling from it and hitting the ground. With each frame, I'm following each raindrop and drawing them slightly below the page before, focusing on each one individually before moving on to the next frame. This is where I'm using the left-hand side of the page that is less visible when flipping to my advantage. By drawing the cloud moving all the way off the left means that it will gradually fade out of our sightline when I flip the book. When you're done your drawings, there are tips for making flipping smoother and easier. One is to tamp the flipping edges of the cards onto a flat surface so that they're all lined up prior to securing with a bulldog clip. The second is to use the tip of your thumb, rocking it back and forth to flip each page. A smoother flip makes for a smoother animation and smoother movement. Now, using all of these tips and tricks, here's the final flip through the Sunflower Flip Book. If you want to get even more adventurous with your flip books, you can try adding color. For the intro, I colored the word flipbook in a rainbow sequence that moved slowly across the text. You're not so fancy. You're not so polished. I think you'll stay in tonight. Where everything is so cold. It's cold in these walls. I'll never see you. You'll die alone. Once you've drawn all of the outlines with the movement you want, you can go through the pages and color each one. Since tracing is no longer necessary with this step, it might be helpful to keep your cards face up, as I did here, to help provide a visual reference. This way, I know what color to put where based on the previous card and to get the color changes I want. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun exploring the wonderful world of flipbooks. Special thanks to my youngest stepbrother Harley for inspiring this video and for his invaluable tips along the way. You're not so fancy.